So this week I've been looking more into testosterone and what levels we should be aiming for, how can we optimize it, because to be honest, that is the thing that's being promoted by media outlets and a lot of companies with testosterone replacement therapy. And obviously in the future I'd like to have a family, so looking at testosterone levels, sperm health and all these other things, I've been looking into it a bit more to see what is it and are the things that we're doing that are detrimental, and basically what balance do we need to achieve. So for context, I'm 31, and years ago, in terms of building testosterone, the main thing I would focus on is going to do a lot of strength training, and I would always advocate for heavy leg sessions when it comes to building or boosting the amount of testosterone, because there's no secret that the modern man has less testosterone than years ago. But what is the cause of that? Is it due to the diet, the environment? Is it due to other things that are suppressing us from flourishing as men? Throughout this, obviously, one of the things I'll go through is diet, which I have luckily just been made. What have I got? Chicken, avocado, rice, edamame. That's one thing that will improve your testosterone. I will come on to it, is a clean diet. And at the same time, I'm going to be asking Jess some questions in between me eating, because it's rude to eat with a full mouth. But it's rude to speak. You can sit wherever you feel comfortable. But yeah, like I said, there's no secret that the average man now in the modern era has lower testosterone. So I was looking into what is the main thing that's changed. Two things stand out for me. It's the lack of physical activity, and that has been a massive impact in terms of, like, my office job is sedentary, 8 to 9 hours each day. I am sat down at a chair like this. I then go to sleep. There's no real movement in between. There's no manual handling or labour in between jobs either. So the fact that your baseline activity is going down, and less people are then inclined to go to the gym and lift heavy. And there's been quite a few movements where, when I started going to the gym when I was 17, there was this movement for you need to do bodybuilding, lift heavy, build muscle. Whereas over recent years, which I agree with, it's increasing in mobility, do yoga, Pilates, reduce the amount of injury. However, I feel like the form police, and I was borderline in the form police, where I would not lift too heavy on certain days. But anyway, that era of bodybuilding and exercising has gone out, which is probably a big reason as to why testosterone's dropped. But you've got to do stuff in balance, haven't you? So I'm sort of asking Jess questions or bringing it into the conversation anyway. But the one thing I looked into with exercise is that if you have a moderate activity level, which is probably going to the gym maybe 1 hour each day, not pushing yourself too much, just basically functioning and taking over in the gym. If you take them and do a 12-week sort of period of training, measure their testosterone levels, then put them onto 12 weeks of intense, which is 85% of their maximal effort, 2 hours each day, and then monitor the testosterone levels again, and then go back to the moderate. There was a 50% reduction in testosterone levels when they were on the intense regime, and a 40% reduction in sperm production, let's say. And the reason why is that basically stress, and that is the next reason as to why testosterone is decreasing in men, is that the environment is now highly stressful in terms of job pressures, whether it be financial. There's so many things that the modern person, and this also crosses over into women as well. This video is not just all about men and testosterone. It also affects women with their fertility and their estrogens, etc. Is that the body doesn't differentiate between a good stress and a bad stress. We basically have a binary nervous system, same as most animals. We either perceive a threat and react to it with increased cortisol, adrenaline, or we don't. So exercise, when it stimulates a lot of adrenaline and cortisol, it is a threat. And in acute exposures, it's okay. But when we chronically elevate this, that is then when we see reductions within the steroid production or steroid hormone production, which testosterone falls into. Is there anything that you think I've missed?
No.
I was hoping that you'd say something then, so I could have a bite.
Really
listen to it. But then, so from a testosterone level, the best things you can do is manage your stress. Again, easier said than done. How do you manage stress? One of them is try not to induce it. So if you're going to the gym, by all means do 1 or 2 highly stressful activities per week. Don't make it your baseline activity where you're doing 1 to 2 hours of a high intensity training class, for example. You need to balance it out with a low impact day, maybe a bit of aerobic training. Just, you need to make sure that you are able to fluctuate between levels of intensity, otherwise your testosterone levels will crash. And if you are a man who is still looking to produce and reproduce, then that will lead to a reduction in sperm quality, quantity, and it can cause dysregulation of that system. Now, what was I going to go on to after that? This is obviously just an ad hoc thing. Testosterone levels. Oh, yeah, so the thing that gets me is, so I was looking into that, and then the fact that all these companies are out there at the moment. So we do have a blood testing company where we're actually more focused on metabolic health. We do have hormonal health for both men and women. But a lot of these pharmaceutical companies, a lot of influencers are focusing on this testosterone replacement therapy, and that men are more deficient than ever, which I agree with. However, when you actually look at a lot of data, men are not really deficient in actual terms to require treatment. It's just that we want to be optimal. And the thing that sort of gets me is that it's a capitalistic market, and there's a lot of things that you could potentially do without the need for adding in steroids into your daily routine, which can also impact a lot of things. Yes, we safely monitor them and prescribe them, but again, at the end of the day, it is still a medication. It's a drug that is altering the function of your body. And if you can do that naturally through other things, then I would always advocate for that. So there's that. I'm trying to think, is there anything that I'd want to go through with men's health, steroids, testosterone?
Just be careful if you are on testosterone, what the long-term effects are.
Yeah, I wasn't going to... I mean, anabolic steroids are a completely different ballgame when it comes to the impact, complications, the reason as to why they're being used as opposed to replacing. They are going super physiological. But if you other things that you need to balance is that, like I said, I'm not saying not to do intense activity or have stressful things in your life. We need to have that response. We need to manage it as much as we can. And when it comes to stuff like sauna, so we've just joined the gym. It's one of the wellness facilities where it's got an ice bath, a sauna. Sauna is inherently very good for your cardiovascular health. That is categorical, it's unambiguous. If you go to the sauna 3 times a week for 20 minutes, your cardiovascular fitness or health will improve tenfold. However, you need to, again, balance that out with sperm production. And if you go to the sauna, I believe it's 3 times a week for about 15-20 minutes in the average heat of a sauna, your sperm production is believed to go to near enough, I'm not going to say 0, but it's going to reduce by probably 80+%, which a lot of people don't really understand or don't factor that in because they feel as though, oh, well, it's good for my heart health, it must be good for all other areas of my body. But when you actually think about where the testes are, they are outside the body. They are in that place for one reason. It's temperature, if I can speak, temperature regulation. So if you're going into these things, exposing yourself to that, you're reducing quality and the quantity. So just don't follow every fitness hack or myth online. Look at it as much as you can. Well, yeah, that was it really. I just thought I wanted to keep up with these videos. Men's health is a big thing I've been looking into, and the fact that we are having lower levels of testosterone mainly due to things that we can easily impact on our daily life, and such as making sure we're eating the correct diet. I didn't even touch on diets, but having low ultra processed food. So we probably average 5%, would you say? 5-10% ultra processed food in our diet. The only ones I can really think of are oat milk for the coffee. Anything else that we have that's really processed. We'll obviously have the odd sushi, for example, if we're out, or if we're traveling, we'll have a poke bowl, whatever it is that's made where it's probably got ultra processed ingredients in, but inherently we've got a very clean diet. But if you're having enough protein, enough fibre is obviously the new thing at the moment, which we've been saying for a while, haven't we? Fibre. But if you've got enough fibre, enough protein, enough of a healthy fat composition to then make sure you've got the right composition of hormones, that's going to all lead to better improvements in your health. Men's health, but also women's health. I know it's heavily been based on testosterone, but Yeah, I haven't really discussed anything medical, but as always, it's for informational purposes only. It's not medical advice. If you've got any questions, pop them below, and I will see you in the next video. So thanks for watching.